PitchLore takes you deep into the world of football transfer fees, where impossible numbers become reality overnight. A player bought for £100, another sold for £222 million. Imagine walking into a store and spending $100 million, not on a luxury mansion, not on a private jet, not even on your own island, but on one football player. It sounds impossible, yet every few years, football clubs do exactly that. They spend fortunes on a single signature, and sometimes it changes football forever. But why? How can one person be worth so much money? Is it really about goals? Or is there a much bigger business behind the beautiful game? Today we're uncovering one of football's biggest mysteries. Welcome to PitchLore, the stories behind the beautiful game. Before we begin, let us know where you're watching from. And if you love revisiting the stars and the stories that shaped our lives, subscribe to PitchLore. Stay with us to discover what really happened to your favorite football stars. Football wasn't always this expensive. Football wasn't always a billion-dollar business. In the early days, clubs had very limited budgets. Players often stayed with one club for most of their careers. Transfers happened, but they were modest. No helicopters, no dramatic announcement videos, no millions of fans tracking flights online. Football was simply a sport, but everything changed. Television networks realized football attracted enormous audiences. Soon, broadcasters were paying billions of dollars for the rights to show matches. Sponsors rushed in. Global brands wanted their logos on shirts. Fans around the world began watching leagues they had never seen before. The Premier League, La Liga, the Champions League. Football had become one of the world's biggest entertainment industries. And when more money entered the game, everything became more expensive, including the players. Here is what makes football's financial story so extraordinary. Every single era believed it had reached the limit. Every generation looked at the transfer fees of their time and said, "This cannot go any further." And every single generation was wrong. In 1928, Arsenal paid £10,890 for Bolton's David Jack, the first five-figure transfer in history. Shocking at the time. In 1979, Nottingham Forest broke an entirely different barrier when they paid £1 million for Birmingham City's Trevor Francis, the first British million-pound transfer. The headlines were breathless. Surely, this was the ceiling. Then came the television money. When the Premier League struck its first broadcast deal with Sky B in 1992, £304 million over 5 years, football stopped being just a sport. It became a product, a global one. That same deal would eventually grow to £5.136 billion for a single 3-year cycle. The sport hadn't just changed, it had been completely rebuilt from the ground up, around money that previous generations couldn't have imagined in their wildest dreams. And when that much money flows into a sport, one question becomes inevitable. How much is one player actually worth? Why one player can cost $100 million? Let's be honest. The first time you heard a transfer fee above £100 million, something in your brain resisted it. A human being? One person? 9 figures? But here is what the clubs know that most fans don't. Football at the elite level is not a sport anymore. It is a global entertainment business. And the player wearing the number 10 shirt is sometimes the entire product. When Cristiano Ronaldo joined Juventus in 2018 for £99.2 million, the club sold approximately 520,000 shirts in the first 24 hours alone. Their stock price rose by 34% in the days following the announcement. Sponsors who were already paying to be associated with Juventus suddenly found their investment worth considerably more, because the man they were now associated with was one of the most recognized human beings on earth. That is before he kicked a single ball. Then there is the Champions League factor. And this is where the mathematics become genuinely compelling. UEFA distributed approximately €2 billion among Champions League clubs in the 2022-23 season alone. The difference between winning the tournament and falling at the group stage can represent €50 to €80 million in prize money. If one player one generational talent, is the difference between those two outcomes. Suddenly, a £100 million transfer fee isn't madness. Its transfer fee isn't madness. It's investment strategy. But there is something even more fundamental driving these numbers. Something no amount of business analysis fully captures. Scarcity. There are 8 billion people on this planet. The number who can genuinely perform at Champions League level, consistently in the biggest moments across multiple seasons, is perhaps a few dozen. You cannot manufacture more of them. You cannot fast-track their development. The supply is fixed by human biology, and the demand from increasingly wealthy clubs never stops growing. When supply stays still and demand accelerates, only one thing can happen to the price. And then there are the agents. In 2022 alone, Premier League clubs paid £302 million in agent fees. Not transfer fees, not wages, just the cost of the people who facilitated the deals. The agent economy has become an ecosystem of its own. One where facilitating a bigger transfer means a bigger personal payday, creating a quiet but powerful incentive to push fees higher at every opportunity. So when you see a £100 million price tag, understand what you are actually looking at. You are looking at shirt sales, sponsorship uplift, Champions League prize money, biological scarcity, and an entire industry of intermediaries, all converging on one number. The football is almost secondary. Almost. The transfer that shocked the world. On August 3rd, 2017, football did something it had never done before. It spent €222 million on one human being, Neymar da Silva Santos Jr., Brazilian, 25 years old, and at that precise moment, one of the 3 best footballers on the planet, left FC Barcelona for Paris Saint-Germain in a transfer so large it didn't just break the world record, it doubled it. The previous record was Paul Pogba's £89.3 million move to Manchester United just 12 months earlier. PSG didn't nudge that figure forward. They left it in another era entirely. But here is the detail that makes this story truly extraordinary. Barcelona never wanted to sell. They had no intention of selling. They believed, reasonably, logically, that no club on earth would ever trigger the release clause written into Neymar's contract. That clause existed as a formality, a number so astronomical it was never meant to be reached. It was Barcelona's way of saying, this man is not for sale. PSG paid it anyway. To understand why, you have to understand who owns PSG. Qatar Sports Investments, backed by the Qatar Investment Authority, effectively the sovereign wealth fund of one of the wealthiest nations on earth, had purchased the club in 2011. And Qatar, at this precise moment in history, was 6 years away from hosting the 2022 FIFA World Cup. PSG was not just a football club to them. It was a statement, a global platform. And Neymar was the most electric, most marketable, most watchable attacking player available anywhere in the world. The reported numbers surrounding the deal are staggering even by modern standards. The €222 million fee was just the beginning. Reports from French sports media, including L'Equipe, suggested Neymar's salary at PSG was approximately €30 million per year, though PSG never officially confirmed this figure. Over a 5-year contract, the total investment reportedly exceeded €400 million for one player. 1. UEFA opened an investigation into whether PSG had breached financial fair play regulations. The rules existed precisely to prevent this kind of spending from clubs operating beyond genuine financial means. PSG navigated the process and were not banned. An outcome that left many inside football deeply frustrated and quietly signaled to every other state-backed club that the regulations had limits to their reach. So did Neymar deliver? The honest answer is complicated. He was brilliant in moments, dazzling in ways that reminded everyone exactly why PSG had made the decision. But injuries took chunks of his most important seasons, and the one prize PSG bought him to deliver, the UEFA Champions League, never came. Their closest moment was the 2020 final in Lisbon, played in a pandemic bubble where Bayern Munich beat them 1-0. In the summer of 2023, Neymar left PSG for Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia for approximately €90 million. PSG paid €222 million. They received 90 million euros back 6 years later, without the Champions League. And yet, here is the part that should stop you in your tracks. No one inside PSG will ever truly call it a failure, because the Neymar era transformed the club's global profile in ways that shirt sales figures and sponsorship reports only partially capture. He made PSG a name that every football fan on earth knew. In the brutal mathematics of modern football, that visibility has its own value. Whether that value is worth 222 million euros is the question football is still trying to answer. When expensive transfers go wrong, for every Ronaldo at Real Madrid, there is a story the clubs would rather you forgot. And there are more of those stories than you might think. Let's start with Fernando Torres. In January 2011, Chelsea broke the British transfer record, paying Liverpool £50 million for a striker who, at his peak, had been genuinely terrifying. Torres at Liverpool was pace, precision, and inevitability all in one. The kind of player who made defenders nervous before the match even started. Chelsea paid £50 million expecting exactly that player. What they got was something heartbreaking to watch. Torres went 14 hours and 48 minutes without scoring a Premier League goal after joining Chelsea. Not a rough patch, not a slow start. 14 hours. The number became a punchline, but behind it was a real story of a player who seemed to lose something invisible and irreplaceable the moment he crossed the city. In 172 appearances for Chelsea, he scored 45 goals for £50 million. The math was brutal and the football was painful. He scored a famous goal against Barcelona in the 2012 Champions League semi-final, a moment that briefly made everything feel possible again. But one goal, however memorable, cannot rescue a transfer of that magnitude from the verdict of history. Then there is Angel Di Maria, £59.7 million. A British record at the time. Manchester United signed him from Real Madrid in 2014, convinced they were getting one of Europe's finest midfielders. And perhaps they were, for about 3 months. Di Maria started brightly. Then the wheels came off in ways that went beyond football. Reports emerged of personal unhappiness, of his family struggling to settle, of a deeply unsettling house burglary that affected those closest to him. The relationship with manager Louis van Gaal deteriorated. After one single season, United sold him to PSG for £44.3 million, absorbing a significant loss and a significant embarrassment on a player who was supposed to signal their return to the elite. But if Torres was heartbreaking and Di Maria was frustrating, Philippe Coutinho was something else entirely. Coutinho was a catastrophe measured in 9 figures. Barcelona paid Liverpool £142 million for him in January 2018, the second largest transfer fee in football history at that moment. A playmaker of genuine quality, a player Liverpool fans had adored, a Brazilian with the kind of technical ability that made the fee feel almost justifiable. Almost. At Barcelona, something simply never clicked. The club loaned him to Bayern Munich for the 2019-20 season, and Coutinho won the Champions League with Bayern. Let that settle for a moment. The player Barcelona had paid £142 million for won the trophy Barcelona desperately wanted. While on loan from Barcelona, the cruelty of that detail is almost cinematic. He was eventually sold to Aston Villa in January 2022 for approximately £17 million. Barcelona paid £142 million. They received £17 million. The loss, approximately £125 million on a single transfer before wages, stands as one of the most devastating financial decisions in football history. And then there is Romelu Lukaku. Chelsea paid Inter Milan £97.5 million in the summer of 2021 for a striker who had just been named Serie A's best player. It felt like perfect timing, buying a player at the absolute height of his powers. Within months, Lukaku gave a television interview expressing his unhappiness at Chelsea and his desire to return to Inter. The dressing room atmosphere soured. The performances followed. Chelsea loaned him back to Inter the following summer, then eventually sold him permanently for approximately £38 million in 2023. £97.5 million in, £38 million out. The Champions League no closer. So what connects these stories? What is the pattern inside these expensive, painful failures? Look closely and it emerges. Torres didn't fit the system. Di Maria couldn't settle personally. Coutinho was bought for a version of Barcelona that no longer existed by the time he arrived. Lukaku never wanted to be there in the first place. In every case, clubs paid for reputation, for a moment of brilliance, for what a player had been, without fully understanding what their specific circumstances would allow him to become. A transfer fee buys a player's history. It cannot buy their future. And that is the lesson football keeps paying hundreds of millions of pounds to relearn. Is any player really worth $100 million? So here we are, the question the entire documentary has been building toward. Is any footballer, any single human being, genuinely worth $100 million? The honest answer is, it depends entirely on what you mean by worth. If you mean worth in the purest economic sense, can a single player generate returns that justify a nine-figure investment? Then the evidence says yes, conditionally, rarely. But yes, Cristiano Ronaldo at Real Madrid won 4 Champions League titles. The commercial returns, shirt sales, sponsorship uplift, global brand expansion, prize money, made the £80 million fee look almost conservative in hindsight. When the right player arrives at the right club at the right moment, the mathematics can work. History has proven it, but those moments are rarer than the transfer market pretends. For every Ronaldo at Real Madrid, there is a Coutinho at Barcelona. For every Zidane, whose left-footed volley in the 2002 Champions League final justified every penny of his then world record fee, there is a Torres, a Di Maria, a Lukaku, players whose fees reflected a moment of market madness rather than a clear-eyed assessment of what they could actually deliver in a specific environment. And this is where the story becomes about something larger than football. The World Food Program estimates that approximately 25 cents feeds one child one meal. 100 million pounds, one transfer fee, one player, one club's single decision could provide approximately 400 million school meals. The NHS spends roughly £2,000 to £3,000 per person on healthcare annually. The same fee could fund healthcare for up to 50,000 people for an entire year. These numbers are not presented here as an argument that football is wrong. They are presented because they are true, and because any honest conversation about whether a footballer is worth $100 million has to exist in the same world where those numbers also exist. Football has never claimed to be a charity. It has never pretended its economics reflect the priorities of the wider world. But the scale of modern transfer fees has grown so extreme that even people who love the sport deeply, who have given their lives to it, occasionally pause and feel something uncomfortable when a new record is announced. That discomfort is worth sitting with, because here is what the transfer market has actually become. It is no longer primarily a mechanism for matching talented players with clubs who need them. It is a signaling system, a global advertisement. When a club pays £100 million for a player, they are not just buying a footballer. They are announcing their ambition to every rival club, every potential sponsor, every young academy player deciding where to commit their future. They are purchasing relevance in a conversation that never stops. And then came Saudi Arabia, and the conversation changed again. In the summer of 2023, clubs backed by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund spent over £800 million in a single transfer window. They offered wages 3 to 5 times what European clubs could match. Neymar, the man PSG paid €222 million for, left for Al Hilal for €90 million. The market that Europe had spent decades building suddenly had a competitor with effectively unlimited resources and entirely different motivations. Not Champions League glory, not shirt sales. Something broader, something geopolitical, something that made even PSG's extraordinary spending look almost quaint by comparison. Where does it end? Truthfully, nobody knows. Every barrier that football once believed was permanent has been broken. £1,000 was obscene in 1905. £1 million was unthinkable in 1979. £100 million felt like science fiction in 2001. €222 million arrived in 2017 and doubled the world record overnight. The pattern has never reversed, not once. What we do know is this: the clubs that have spent most wisely have not always been the ones who spent the most. They have been the ones who understood something the transfer market constantly obscures. That a footballer's value is not contained in a fee. It lives in the relationship between a player and a system, between a person and a place, between a moment in someone's career and the environment waiting to receive them. Get that relationship right, and £100 million can look like a bargain. Get it wrong, and no fee, however carefully negotiated, however loudly announced, can save you from the consequences. Football has been learning that lesson since 1905. It is still learning it today. And somewhere right now, a club is preparing to pay a record fee. Absolutely convinced that this time, they have finally gotten it right. Before we sign off, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. And if this kind of storytelling speaks to you, the real stories, the remarkable numbers, the human truths behind the headlines, then subscribe to PitchLore. Because we are just getting started, and the stories only get bigger from here.